Welcome to another In Wheel Time podcast, a 30-minute mini version of the In Wheel Time car show that airs live every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central. See you there.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us on today's In Wheel Time car talk show. Ahead, Alex Peitz from Peitz Performance Tunes in Tomball, Texas. Later, Jeff has this week's Motor Minute. I'll have the stories making automotive news headlines. Howdy along with Mike out of This World Mars. We always need more Jeff Zekin. IT genius David Ainsley will be joining us next weekend. I'm Don Armstrong. Glad that you could join us on today's live broadcast. If you're listening or watching on this Saturday morning, it is a live show.
We're always good to see David.
8 to 11, yeah. It is, and we haven't seen him in a while.
He's a fun guy.
Well, he's been busy. Been out to Las Vegas to the National Association of Broadcasters convention. That's always a busy time. I've been to that a couple of times, and wow, you've never seen so much electronic gear in all your life. I wouldn't know what to do.
He should take Mike with him, and Mike would get lost.
Well, that's why he sent me a text. He said, I need to go out there and bring 2 credit cards.
Exactly. You really should. Of all the people that really needs to go to that, that would be you.
Yeah.
So all the money that you're making off of this show.
That's why I'm driving the Corvette that I want. Yeah, exactly.
I saw that Corvette.
That white one?
Yes. They had it locked up, and they had a picture of you with a circle slash on it. Not to touch it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
we've got him.
There's that.
Yep.
Okay. Alex, is your last name Peitz?
Peitz.
Peitz. Of course it's Peitz. Leave it to me to jack it up. Sorry. But I just figured that, what the heck. I'll give it a shot. Then I didn't know. So it's Alex Peitz, Peitz Performance Tunes. Alex, how long have you been in business out there?
It's about 10 years for this company.
Great.
How in the world did you get into performance tuning?
Well, that's quite the story there. I think I was about 15, maybe just turning 16. I had a 98 Mustang GT. That was my first V8 car that I owned. Prior to that, I had a couple DSMs. I had a 3000 GT VR4. I had my first car was actually a Plymouth Laser. If you're familiar with those, a 92 Plymouth Laser.
Yeah.
So I got a Laser, and it was like a little 1.8 liter. It wasn't super fun, but got me into it. And then I got into the 3000 GT that I actually bought with paper route money because I had started my paper route back when I was like probably 12 or 13, however old I was. And then bought the 3000 GT in Kansas City with paper route money. I think it was like $5,500 I paid for it. That was VR4 twin turbo all-wheel drive. Thought it was the greatest thing in the world. But then I realized that thing was just a money pit. So I ended up selling it, and then I found V8s, and I've never went back since. So I got the Mustang. It actually came with a little Diablo handheld tuner. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with those.
Yes, exactly.
And the Diablo actually allowed me to add, subtract timing, add, subtract fuel, and so that's pretty cool. And I could also do like basic data logging. I really didn't have much of an idea of what I was doing, but just through basic research and like literally I would go out in the middle of the night. I was in Iowa, basically nothing but cornfields all around me. I would go on a 2-lane road, and I would time myself. Okay, how fast did I go from this point A to point B? And then I'd make adjustments and time myself again and look at my mile per hour. And that was kind of my dyno at the time. And then I just kind of took it from there. But I ended up joining the military. So I was in the Army from the age of 17 to
And 23. You were hot rodding Jeeps in the Army.
Yeah. Well, we were more Strikers and Humvees.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep. So I was in the Army for about 6 years. While I was in, I did a lot of research, and I had different cars throughout the time. I had a 06 GTO. I did have one more 4-cylinder car. That was a SRT4 Neon. That was a pretty cool car.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. And I had just various other cars. I would help buddies out. And then when I was deployed, I would just do nothing but research tuning. Just whenever I was not on mission or writing reports, I was just researching tuning, collecting whatever information I could, because I knew I wanted to do something with cars and computers and keep going on that path after I got out. So after I got out, finished college, and actually started my first shop back in Iowa, and I had that shop for a decent amount, maybe just a little over a year or so, and then I ended up going to a tech school down here in Houston. Went to that tech school, linked up with another shop here in just outside of Houston, and they needed a dyno, they needed a tuner. So I actually moved after school finished up. I moved my dyno down here to the shop here, but I was actually already interviewing for a position out in California with LSX TV. So they wanted an editor, but they also wanted a tuner, like an in-house tuner that was also going to be the editor. So I was, working on getting that job, but I was going to do remote tuning for the shop where I moved my dyno to for the time being. Well, right at the last minute, they told me they couldn't give me the job because of administrative reasons or whatever it may have been. But at that point, I already had my house sold, just got divorced actually, and my whole life was like in this U-Haul, big, whatever they are.
Yeah.
30-foot trailer, and I had my Firehawk in the back. So I had the big U-Haul, and I had a car trailer in the back with the Firehawk, and I was heading out to California one way or another, come hell or high water.
Wow.
So I actually drove through and picked up my buddy who I'd met at tech school here. He was in Colorado. Picked him up in Colorado and got out to California. And then right after that, I started looking for jobs. And I went on Indeed, actually, and Saleen was hiring for a calibration engineer. So I applied, and a week and a half later, I was working at Saleen. So, I was with Saleen for just like a little bit under a year. It was pretty cool.
How was it working for Steve Saleen?
He's very intricate. He's very particular, but that's good. Those are good qualities to have.
Yeah.
And somebody of his position, and he really was proud of his road racing.
Yeah, we've had him
That's
on the
really
show.
Started getting my introduction to road racing, and the S7, all the success that thing had, that was an amazing platform. And every room at Saleen, we had different names for different tracks that he'd won at in Le Mans. I believe, or not only Le Mans, but all the different
Road racing circuits.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. But then, he would come in and he would point or count the number of chairs in each room, and he'd say, "Hey, there's not the right amount of chairs in here. Somebody took a chair out here. Put the chair back." Stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, but, needless to say. So how did you wind up here?
Well, so while I was at Saleen, I ended up, I was still doing some tuning for that other shop. And I started doing some other remote tuning in the meantime, like in the evening. And the shop that I had moved my dyno to, they said, "Hey, we need a full-time tuner, and we want to use you." And I was like, "Yeah." The production tuning thing was kind of, it was good, but I wanted to do more custom tuning. I wanted to do more racing. I wanted to do some other aspects of, the job.
Bigger things.
And so I left Saleen and went to work full-time for the company that was here in Houston. And so, that was that.
And you just loved us so much, you said, "I'm going to pick up and move there."
Yeah, well, this would be the second time I'd moved to Houston. I moved there for, school, and then now I moved here for this job. But then it keeps going after that. I mean, I don't want to take you too far deep down my rabbit hole of my story, but, I'll kind of try to, sum it up. I ended up leaving that place and then started doing a lot of freelance tuning in Houston. But in all that process of being at Saleen and where I'd been, I met different people through HB Tuners, because I was helping HB Tuners with getting into the Coyote platform, because we had a lot of Coyote cars at Saleen, right? And so in the process of doing that, they said, "Hey, the tuning school is hiring. They want somebody who can, help them develop this book on tuning Fords using HB Tuners." And so I said, "Yeah, I can do that." And so I actually moved down to Florida and started working at the tuning school, and was their lead instructor.
Bottom line is did you followed your passion and wound up here with your own place?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, congratulations. I don't know whether Mars told you or not, but somebody that turned us on to you, and that would be Mr. Borcherding over at Paint House. And,
yeah, that's he did tell me about that. Yep.
Yes, and because I asked him, I said, "I need somebody that can help me with the tune on my 2001 LS1 Corvette." and he gave us your name. And then Mars says, yeah, he doesn't do LS1s, but everything after that he does. So I'm thinking, pardon me?
I tune LS1s.
Good. That's good to hear. And so I wanted to present you with this scenario. Now, this is a stock LS1 with a K&N filter on it, and it's got a Corsa catback exhaust system on it, 6-speed manual transmission, but everything else is stock on it. And I've been doing some reading on some of these guys, putting on blowers, putting on turbochargers, and from what I gather, when you start putting boost into them, you can crack cylinder walls, and mainly valve springs are not really set up for boost. And I'm thinking, well, I don't want to go that far, but I know that there's more potential in that engine without, really hurting the engine or potentially hurting the engine. I'm thinking, well, maybe I need to get a hold of somebody, and I couldn't find anybody. And Randy Borcherding says, call Alex. And I said, okay, well, so that's how we got you on the show. Can you help me?
Sell it.
Sell it. No, we're not selling the car. It's only got 33,000 miles on it.
Wow. Yeah, sounds like a cream puff.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of like my Firehawk. That thing was, super low miles, very nice. It was LS Firehawk, not LT Firehawk. But yeah, no, certainly can help you out with that. It just, for a lot of my customers, what I try to break it down or boil it down to basically is how much horsepower do you want to make and how much money do you want to throw at the project, right? That's what it boils down to.
I don't want to throw any money to the project. That's the bottom line there. But no, I mean, I could certainly understand spending some money doing it, but I don't want to.
You want to go exotic.
Yeah, and I don't want to put any aftermarket boost on it or anything like that. At least I haven't talked to you. I'm talking to you now, and I don't want to go crazy with it. And I have a limited budget to begin with. So, what do you think? How would you advise me? Which way to go?
I would just start with, optimizing what you got, right? Yep. So, retuning the car with the intake system you have and the exhaust, and I mean, just tuning them stock. They were fairly, I wouldn't say detuned from the factory, but they weren't optimized that wide open throttle. The LS is actually one of those vehicles you can actually get some power out of being a naturally aspirated V8 and just tuning the vehicle. So typically, I want to say we see about 20 horsepower gains from tuning it, especially with having some kind of an intake system on it and exhaust, which is helpful in those cars, and also tuning the car. So that's where I would start. And just also, you could just even start with the baseline on the dyno, see where you're at, and then say, okay, what's my air-fuel ratio right now? What's timing? Do I have any knock? Is the car running correctly? Is it? Okay, great. Then you've got a good baseline. Because I tell everybody, you can't tune a car unless it's mechanically sound. If the car's not mechanically sound, then you have to get that right, and then you can tune the vehicle. So that's where I would start with that. Do your basic tune-up, plugs, wires, so on and so forth. Fuel filter if you haven't changed that in a while. Because it sounds like the car sits for a majority of its life.
Yes,
so
that's correct.
Just want to make sure everything's good to go there, and then get on the dyno, and then read the current file out.
I don't even know where the fuel filter is on the car.
It's I can't remember exactly on that particular application, but typically it's not too far from the fuel tank, so it's going to be probably a third of the way up the car. Under it, there's going to be an inline fuel filter there.
Pressurized.
Yeah. So like the C5, actually, the fuel filter and the fuel pressure regulator are integrated into one. So it's a very popular fuel filter or regulator to use in LS swaps, like in the Blazers and stuff like that. Guys are putting LSs in them. They'll just use a fuel pressure regulator / filter from a C5, and that's how they get their 58 psi base pressure.
Interesting. See, he knows all this stuff. Yes, Mars?
So I'm wondering, because sooner or later I'm going to have one. But so as a tuner, so Don comes over there and he says, okay, I've got here's my C1, my C5. Do you do, as part of your process, change the plugs, the plug wires, and all that stuff as part of getting the car to that baseline, or should he do that before he comes to you?
Yeah, certainly it's a good idea to do it beforehand. And a lot of people will advise them. They'll ask me, okay, what plugs do you want in it? Okay, what gap do you want? And so on and so forth. So we advise them of that. And then plug wires, obviously are a good thing. especially people who have like headers and things like that. Plug wires get brittle, they get hot, and they start to break. So that's like the number one thing that we want to look for. Of course, the ignition system that's working well. Another thing on an older vehicle, especially a vehicle that's sat around quite a bit, and depending on what ambient conditions you're in, if it's very humid, it's going to have a bigger impact. But I would also get the injectors flow tested and clean, because we see a lot of problems with injectors as well, especially a port injection setup as opposed to a direct injection setup. So it's a good idea just to get that baseline stuff out of the way prior to putting it on the dyno.
So, okay. So, if I engage you to help me on this, you'll guide me along the way. Now, would you do the fuel filter? Would you do the spark plug wires? Do you have the capability of doing that out there at your shop?
Yeah, we certainly can, and we certainly do.
Yeah. And so I could say, okay, Alex, I'm coming out there, and I'd set up a date and time with you, and we would get to work. You would. I would stand back and watch and hand you tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anakanapana. So there would be one of those kind of things. And you're good with that?
Yeah.
Well, there's some hesitancy in your answer there, and I'm thinking, no, he doesn't want me there. He wants me to drop off the car and let him do his thing.
Probably.
That's usually the preferred method, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I want to kind of see it on the dyno and see what it'll do, and I want to see how you do that,
Yeah, so typically what I do in those situations is for all the introductory things or the baseline mechanical components that we address, is we'll have the vehicle there, get that stuff kind of looked at, give it a once over, do a health check, make sure everything's good. And then, once I'm on the dyno and, I get a baseline, I'll send in information to the customer. And then, I'll say, hey, come on over, come check it out on the dyno. Because everybody wants to see the car on the dyno. They want to hear their car run. I get that. It's a lot of fun. And so, at that point, then I'll say, hey, come on over. Let's check it out together, take video, do whatever you want to do, have some fun with it. And then, then I got to go take the vehicle off the dyno. And then the most important part is test driving it on the street. Make sure your drivability is correct and good. Make sure, it drives as it should. And then that's really where the meat and potatoes comes in. So it's difficult because I have a very comprehensive process. And so it sometimes takes a while. And also, given the fact that I'm running the business and doing all the tuning, it's very difficult for me to sit down in one spot for 5 hours at a time and get one thing done, because I'm spread thin in so many directions.
Right.
So I typically advise my customers, hey, I'm good at what I do. I'm in high demand. So it just requires a little bit of
patience.
So a good thing for me to do would be to drop the car off, say, here you go, Alex, go for it.
Yeah, but then when I'm ready, of course, I want you to be a part of that process, towards the end, and make sure you know what's going on. And, of course, keep you informed along the way.
Oh, my God. It's like Christmas. I can't wait to open that present at the end.
Okay, so he'll be there at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning.
No, he will not.
So how long does that typically, Don comes in there?
5 hours.
Well, that's if he sits down and does it. But the whole process, how long would you want the car for? Typically. Typically,
we advise our customers that's about 2 days.
God,
that's
nothing. Yeah. Well, you would have it for a week because you're in Tomball and I'm in Sugarland, and I got to get out there and I got to get back. So you understand?
Is that workable for somebody to leave the car that long?
We do stuff like that all the time. That's our typical in-house tune customer, because you got different companies do it differently, of course. But I really try to slow it down a little bit. Let's focus on X, Y, Z, right? Let's get through all the whole process, or A to Z, if you will. So that way we make sure that we have a comprehensive look and we understand what's exactly going on with the vehicle. Because 9 times out of 10, I get a car in, it needs more than just a tune, right? If I had $1 for every time somebody told me, oh, it just needs a tune, I'd be way more wealthy, or I'd be wealthy man actually. But I'm just a poor hot rodder, But so it's interesting how many things you run into that you have no idea is even a problem. So you've got
What are you working on now? What do you got in the shop?
Right now, actually, what I have on the dyno is a C8. Pretty big into the C8 market right now. We've got a lot of Challenger Hellcats and stuff like that we work on as well. But C8s has been our big thing for the last 4 years. It's a 416 cubic inch C8. It's got twin turbos, dual, twin 64, 66 turbos, E85 fuel system. Everything you basically throw at those cars, it's got, right? And so it should make about 1,100 wheel horsepower on my dyno.
Okay, that's what Don wants. Don wants that.
Yeah. Maybe we could trade out that C8 motor for my C5. Yeah, no.
One hand and
Listen, we
C5 here too, by the way. They're a lot of fun.
So we're running out of time, but I want to have you back on another time, and we'll get more into it because I find it fascinating what you do, and I've been looking for you for a long time. We have Randy Borcherding to thank for our meeting, and we appreciate all of your information, and I know that you're busy and chomping at the bit to get back out to the shop. I get that, but it's been a pleasure talking to you. We're going to talk, and I'm going to call you on the telephone, and we'll set up something.
All right. Yeah. No, sounds great. I appreciate you guys having me on, and by all means, you need anything else, let me know.
There was a cartoon back in the 50s, and in the cartoon, I think it said something along, "You'll be sorry," because now we're going to be knocking on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, "Alex, hey man, what are we going to do here?"
Or you get that call for bail money. That's
the other thing too. Alex, great talking to you, my friend. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch.
All right, you guys take care.
Right.
You do the same. Alex Peitz. Peitz Performance Tunes out in Tomball.
Wealth of information for that young man.
In Real Time Car Talk show is available 24/7 through the iHeartRadio app. Just look for In Real Time Car Talk. We also video stream our 3-hour weekly live show on Facebook, YouTube, and InRealTime.com. Podcast from your favorite podcast provider. In Real Time Car Talk show continues right after this quick break. Pro-Am Auto Accessories has been serving Houston's auto enthusiasts since 1984, providing world-class products for sports cars, European sedans, and American muscle. Pro-Am is known as the place to go to find exclusive and hard-to-find parts and accessories. Pro-Am is one of the very first distributors in the USA for brands such as Recaro, Redline, Momo, Corbo, and Simpson. Located in the heart of Houston's premier retail and service corridor, the Galleria area, Pro-Am's walk-in storefront includes an 8,000-square-foot warehouse, showroom, and installation bays. Pro-Am not only sells parts and accessories, but also offers installation and service. Pro-Am is now reaching a worldwide audience through Pro-Am.com, taking its local reputation to the rest of the world. At Pro-Am Auto, you'll be dealing with a small group of professionals who truly want to help you with your automotive needs. If you don't see what you're looking for on the website, call and Pro-Am will lend you a hand. Pro-Am Auto, 6125 Richmond at Green Ridge in Houston's Galleria area. Call them at 713-781-7755. Want to feel good about something special you did for someone special? In Real Time and the original Lupi Tortilla group of Tex-Mex restaurants have joined together to help a very worthy cause, God's Garage, a Christian-based 501c3 charity. We know there are lots of places and organizations out there where you can donate a car, truck, or SUV, but we're asking you, our car enthusiast family, to consider donating to God's Garage. Visit godsgarage.org and learn about its mission, the women that have been helped, how each one is screened, and about their Restore You program. A car donation is an easy way to make a difference in the lives of others. God's Garage needs good operating vehicles, but will take all types in working and non-working condition. Make your heart and soul feel good by donating your gently used vehicle and help support single mothers, widows, and wives of deployed military at godsgarage.org. Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th, you're invited to enjoy the 28th annual Keels and Wheels Concours d'Elegance. See the largest collection of classic cars and boats in the U.S. on display at the beautiful Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook, Texas. This year's Keels and Wheels features 60 years of Ford Mustangs and Donzi boats. There's plenty of free parking, and discount tickets are available online at keels-wheels.com. It's Keels and Wheels, Saturday and Sunday, May 4th and 5th at the Lakewood Yacht Club in Seabrook. In Real Time will be there too. We'll see you there. Hey, you're on the In Real Time Car Talk Show. Thanks for riding with us today. We'd love to hear from you. Shoot us an email, info@inwheeltime.com. Jeff has the Motor Minute for us.
I do have a Motor Minute, and this is all about... hold on. This is all about slang and car terms from back in the day. So I've got a couple for you. What did the words banger mean when you were growing up?
Oh.
Well,
Depends on how you spell
banger,
that.
Banger was How many cylinders? Like a 4-cylinder, 4-banger,
four-banger,
6-banger,
yeah.
Fadeaways. What were fadeaways?
Fadeaways? What were fadeaways?
Fadeaways were the fenders. Rather than the fender sticking out, the pronounced bump, they faded into the car,
Body, yeah.
sort of like a 41 Packard.
Okay.
So I've got it kind of screwed up here. What is a Louis? You know what a Louis is?
Louis.
No, it's get up to that corner and give me a Louis. That would be a left turn.
Okay.
How about that? What about a Ralph?
A Ralph.
Ralph would be a right turn.
Okay.
And I've got one. We know we're short on time. Suicide knob. Suicide knob. We put it on.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, on the steering wheel.
You know, they say they're illegal, but they're not illegal. It was the Brody knob because a guy by the name of James Brody almost died using it. They invented them so that you could turn the wheel with your left hand and keep your right arm around your date.
Huh.
All right. And
That's the reason?
That's the reason.
Okay.
And this is this right here. I don't know if you know who this person is or not on the screen there.
Dagmar.
That is Dagmar. That is Virginia Ruth Jeannie Lewis. She was born in 1929, November 29th in 1921. Passed away in 2001 October. But she is the original Dagmar. She professionally.
Remember, you had Dagmars on your Cadillac.
Yep. She was in Broadway. She was on TV. She was on the Milton Berle Show, Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra, and Mitch Miller. So that
Sing
didn't go
along
well.
with Mitch.
That didn't go well.
God. Yeah. Dagmars. Well, I thought I saw that picture flash by. I thought there's Dagmar.
There it is. There's Dagmar.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for that.
Okay.
Let's see. We don't have time for anything else right now. We got to stay on time. So we're going to move on to the third hour of our show, live show, here on the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show. So we invite you to stay tuned for that while we regather our thoughts. I got all caught up with Alex and ran behind, so you just have to forgive me for that.
Okay, that's all right. We're good.
Or don't forgive me. All right, the In Wheel Time Car Talk Show continues after this.
The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants will have you telling your family and friends just what the original recipes mean when it comes to the best fajitas in Southeast Texas. Founder Stan Holt invites you to visit the original Lupi Tortilla near I-10 and Highway 6. Here's the original house that inspired the design of all the rest and the original charm that helped make Lupi Tortilla the go-to destination for Houston Tex-Mex. Speaking of original, nothing can compete with the original lime pepper marinade that everyone will agree makes Lupi Tortilla award-winning beef fajitas the best anywhere. Lupi Tortilla Katy is another location that gives you the same quality and service Houstonians have come to expect at Lupi's. It's located just off I-10 and the Grand Parkway at Kingsland Boulevard in Katy. Find yourself in Aggie Land? Head to the Lupi Tortilla in College Station, located just around the corner from Kyle Field. It's a great place to enjoy those famous frozen margaritas before or after the game. Headed east to Louisiana, stop in at the Lupi Tortilla in Beaumont. It too's on I-10. You can't miss it. The original group of Lupi Tortilla restaurants invites you in for the best Tex-Mex anywhere. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is having another car social Saturday morning, May 18th from 8 to 11. It's a car cruise-in like no other. Expect Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Corvettes, and the featured brand Porsche. Get social at this special cruise-in event. You'll also see Gulf Coast Auto Shield's private workshop and learn about their many products and services. Questions are welcomed. Gulf Coast Auto Shield is easy to get to at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway near West Airport Boulevard, just south of the Southwest Freeway. The Car Social featuring Porsche takes place Saturday morning, May 18th from 8 to 11. Tell your friends, and no matter what car you have, bring it and enjoy this rare opportunity to see some of Houston's finest rides. In Wheel Time will bring its Car Talk Show there too, so join us for another Car Social at Gulf Coast Auto Shield, Saturday morning, May 18th, 8 to 11 at 11275 South Sam Houston Tollway, just south of the Southwest Freeway. Visit gcautoshield.com to see the show flyer for more details. That's it for this podcast episode of the In Wheel Time Car Show. I'm Don Armstrong, inviting you to join us for our live show every Saturday morning, 8 to 11 a.m. Central on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and our InWheelTime.com website. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart Podcast, Podcast Addict, TuneIn, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Keep listening, and we'll see you soon.